Hello again. Good morning. Chapter 6, Profits and Losses from Thomas Sowell's book, Basic Economics. Um, Question number 1, what mistaken view of profits do people often have? And I think this is a good point he makes. He says that people often like to talk about profits as like surplus value, as though people sit there and go, okay, it cost me this much to make something. And so I'm going to just now add extra costs to that so that I can make money on the top. So they see profits as added cost or like an extra surcharge. And so you'll get the idea that, you know what, the value of a product is really this low cost of production. And then these evil companies have just added on this extra value in order to make themselves rich. And so they have this socialist ideal that, well, if we could just eliminate capitalism, if we could eliminate these greedy owners feeling like they need to make a profit, then we could just drop the price of everything, and the price of everything would be reduced because we could basically trim off the fat. We could trim off that surplus value from the cost of things, and everything would be cheaper. And that is markedly foolhardy because it misses the whole point and the whole value of what profits provide. And that's question number 2. But so if we view them just as this added cost and we think, oh, well, that can be eliminated somehow from the outside, and that will just get to the real value. Remember, this is the idea. Oh, no, things have a real value, and we need to just charge the real value for them. So that doesn't exist. There's no such thing as real value, especially when you take into consideration subjective needs, changing situations, and also um, just the different situations in which these products are made. And so why are profits actually key to an economy that meets maximum needs? So if they're not just this extra added cost put on by owners in order to get rich or take advantage of people beyond what they should really be charging, what profits are is they're incentives. Profits are incentives. They motivate. The whole idea is that those products do not exist in the first place without the profits. So to think that you can have a product, eliminate the profit, and that product will still be there, but at a cheaper value in the same quality, the same quantity, in the same circumstances that you already enjoy it, you are mistaken because it was the profit, the ability for somebody to be motivated and incentivized to make it and to improve it and to get it to you faster and cheaper than the next guy that allowed you to enjoy it. So if you eliminate the profits, you have destroyed kind of the essential core, the motivating feature that allowed that product or that service to exist in the first place. Um, so it's incentives that produce the lowest cost. They say, you know what, I want to make this as cheap as possible so as many people can buy it as possible. When we figure out tuition at the school, we don't sit there and go, well, this is what it costs to run the school. Let's add on all this money and then we're going to make extra money. No, we have to say this is what people are willing to pay. How can we make that profitable to us so that we can get as many students in here at the lowest cost possible while still making a profit? Profit also incentivizes a firm to, you know what, I've got to meet people's needs. I've got to make a great econ video or else they're going to leave CCS and they're going to go to a public school. So we got to meet the needs. What do they want to learn? What do they want to consume? What are consumers looking for? And the profit motive causes me to think that if there's no profit motive, I don't care what you want. I'm just making this thing and I'm obeying my overseers. I'm obeying my government. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to change anything. I just want to do my job and go home. And so if I'm not making a profit, what do I care what you want? Take it or leave it. And let's just keep doing things the same way they've been doing it for 50 years. So profits also, thirdly, motivate change. That I want to change, I want to adapt. I got to, as we talked about in chapter 5, I've got to meet the changing circumstances and desires and wants and social, economic, and technological changes. I've got to do that, or else I'm going to lose the thing I want, my profit. Again, as we've said, life is motivation. You know, your education, it's motivation. You have all the ability, you have the resources to do a lot. The question is, what's motivating you? And it's profits that are powerfully motivating in creating an economy that meets people's maximum needs. Profits are also what causes competition. If we're fighting over points, if we're fighting over donuts in class, if we're fighting over, valedictorian, if we're fighting over a profit, then we're going to push ourselves much further and at a greater rate in order to achieve that goal. And so, again, profits motivate to have lowest cost, sell what consumers want, to meet changes, keeps them on their toes, and to compete. So you eliminate profits and you don't have nearly as dynamic an economy. Question 3, why are losses equally as valuable as profits? We've talked a lot about this, but again, losses are like the pain receptors in your hand. Hey, that hurt. That means you took damage. Your skin's on fire. Get it off the stove. You're doing a stretch that is going to rip something in your ligaments. You're doing something harmful. Stop doing it. That's like what our pain tells our bodies. That's what losses are to a business. You cannot eliminate losses, the vulnerability of businesses, or else they lose their sense of pain to respond to what they're doing wrong. And so losses say, stop wasting resources. You need to change. I was just my own personal finances, looking at it with my wife. We're losing money this month. We're credit card debt is growing. We need to change. We cannot just keep living this way. Businesses, again, need those losses because then they will make the necessary changes to better use the resources that have alternative uses and are scarce of their society. He give an example from the text. You have a positive and a negative one. One negative one was the India car company building the Ambassador, where basically they were shielded from competition. They were shielded from losses because they were government directed. And so they had no motivation to improve their car. They had no motivation to improve the production of them. They had no motivation to innovate. They had no motivation to cut costs and do it more efficiently. And so they talks about just how the stagnant nature of these out of date lame cars that were being produced by India that nobody wanted and were being outcompeted by foreign firms. The other one, because they never had the pain of losses to say, hey, you know what, wake up, you need to change. It's kind of like, if we just eliminated grades and just said, oh, you're all just really great. It doesn't matter what you do, A+ for everybody. You wouldn't change. You wouldn't get better. You wouldn't become a better student. You wouldn't be motivated. If I remove the motivation, which is oftentimes, unfortunately, what grades do, I got to put that 0 in because I got to create an incentive to make the change that's needed. The positive example talks about the software companies and how you have two really successful software companies producing 80% of software chips in the world, microchips. And so they're really good. They're doing really well. And yet because of losses, they're in terror of being beaten by their competition. And so they're constantly innovating. Again, if you have 80% of the market share, you could grow fat and happy and complacent and not want to change or innovate, or we do it pretty good. We're the best. Look at us, 80%. Why should we change? Well, because there's competition and they can take losses. They're continuing to innovate. They're continuing to get better. They're not, they don't have the tenured of that professor who I got a job for life. I'm done growing. Businesses can't afford that, or at least they need to be set up in a free economy so that they can't afford that, so that they continue to change and meet needs and get better. And it talks about how those two software companies just continue to radically improve microchip processing because they were driven by both profits and the fear of losses. Number 4, what do profits and losses allow an economy to do that planned or coordinated economies fail to do? Why? They Profits and losses allow us to meet needs better because they're motivated both from the fear of losses and the hope of profits. They're going to do all the things we just talked about: lower costs, sell what people want. They're going to change. They're going to compete. They're going to improve and innovate. They're going to find new ways. And that is all. Some will fail and they'll go out of business, and that's too bad. Hopefully they can start somewhere else again, keep the cost of entry low, but that's going to meet the needs of our society better and better. Faster and faster computers, better and better technology, more and more food, higher quality food, higher quality clothing, more choices, et cetera, et cetera. He gives the example of the tires, the tire company never wanting to let down General Motors because, again, that's their customer. And so they're going to produce the best tires. They're going to be right there ready to go on the new GM cars because they want to better and better meet the need of their client so that they can maximize profits and minimize losses. And then it talks about Sears needing to make better refrigerators. All of that doesn't happen without profits and losses. And it compares that to the Soviet Union, where they weren't getting the supplies they needed because nobody's incentivized, nobody's motivated. And so a key word here, right before we finish, is reliability. Reliability. Profits and losses give an economy reliability. Your food's going to be in the store. There's going to be milk. And I know you might think, oh, those dairy farmers, they're making sure we have milk. They're so wonderful during this crisis. No, it's not from the goodness of their heart. It's because they need the profits and they want to avoid the losses. And that's okay. That's exactly how it should work, because now they're going to produce the most milk, the best milk possible. And so it's reliability. And where you don't have profits and losses, you don't have reliability. And that's kind of the essence of economics. How can we distribute and use scarce resources with alternative uses to a maximum benefit of everybody? Profits and losses lie at the heart of that, for all the reasons we've just discussed. You eliminate those, you're not going to have a reliable economy. You're going to have shortages. You're going to have a lack. You're going to have poor quality, and people are going to suffer.